Hey, welcome back to Video Game Tango. This time, AMD and NVIDIA announced more graphics cards we won't be able to buy. Raven Software's QA team continue their protests. PlayStation Now and Plus have some more games for you, and we look into the PSVR 2 and learn some more about Anacrusis. Then after the break, we share our thoughts on the Book of Boba Fett and the future of the Star Wars franchise, and we get into Cobra Kai.
I am Nick, and my beanie contains a second, smaller beanie.
Hi, I'm Josh, and I just escaped the Sarlacc pit.
My name's Russ, and I'm a dirty grape snoggler.
Then just as a quick reminder, we're taking a 2-week break. We'll be live again with the podcast on January 26th, and we'll have our regular recorded show up again on January 28th. In the meantime, join us for Jackbox Party Games next week, January 12th in the early evening at twitch.tv/videogametango. My name is Andy. Welcome to Video Game Tango.
I thought of a better thing.
That's a bummer. Are you guys ready for more graphics cards that you can't have?
Graphics cards that I can't have.
Because that's what's in the news.
That's every graphics card.
Yeah, true, and they're adding more to the list. So NVIDIA and AMD have both announced new graphics cards. They're low-powered, low-range versions of graphics cards that are already out. But on top of that, NVIDIA said exactly what we said was going to happen last week, which is it came out with the 3090 Ti. So another graphics card based on the 3080 platform that you won't be able to buy because they're spreading that one as thin as absolutely possible. Okay. So the same die that goes into the 3080 and the 3080 Ti and the 3090 is now 3090 Ti. Cool. So now instead of having to split all of the chips amongst 3 different cards, they've got to split it amongst 4. So
TI stands for tiny inventory because that's how much they have.
I mean, that's what it stands for now, for fuck's sake. But yeah, so AMD NVIDIA announced the RTX 3050. The biggest problem that I have with this, okay, is the RTX 30 series is supposed to be really geared towards doing ray tracing, especially NVIDIA RTX. These cards are not very good at ray tracing yet. It's still early days of ray tracing, especially in high resolutions.
He's hard to find, you know.
Ray is hard to trace.
And we really need to get him just outlined.
Yeah.
So the biggest issue that a lot of people are having with this is like something like the RTX 3060, which is supposed to be the entry-level RTX card, already struggles to get ray tracing done at a reasonable frame rate at 1080p. So what is this going to do? Other than,
ray
again,
tracing at 240.
Yes, because they're thin. This is the same chip that goes into the fucking 3060. So, like, all they're doing is, like, putting out these cards that are supposed to be lower cost, yes. So eventually when scalpers and bots own all of them, it'll only cost you $600 fucking dollars to get a $200 MSRP card. Who would have thought?
What animal do they have running the selection wheel for the next thing that they do?
That's the Southwest Shame Wheel.
Yes, okay, we've finally defined the shame wheel.
It's a duck.
Okay. No. I was leaning towards
it's a
orangutan
platypus.
or rooster.
It's a platypus.
I think those would be exciting.
All over this thing, and I don't like it.
Yeah, if they come out with an M line
Gross.
of graphics cards, we all know what the M stands for.
An M line? They already have them.
No, milk line.
They're already mobile
That's
chips.
the milk line.
Yeah, so those are already
They
NVIDIA
come
mobile chips.
pre-cooled with milk.
Dude, I don't know. I was hoping for just like more cards in general.
Listen, so
I mean,
if this is something that people can actually get their hands on, at least something like the 3050, then that would be a substantial upgrade for a lot of people that are still in their 970s and their 1050s, like you and Nick are.
yeah, that would. I mean,
right.
If they weren't $6,000.
Exactly,
Yeah,
that's the biggest issue. Is what are we doing to combat bots? And because here's the thing. NVIDIA it's not like these cards aren't selling. They're all selling, all of them. And what they're saying is they've been able to match previous production levels too. So what they're saying is they're producing as many or maybe more cards as they ever have before. Just none of them are getting into the hands of people that actually need them for video games.
Well, here's the thing. They're a company and they need to make money.
Yeah.
So if they're selling, then they're doing what they're doing correctly, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they don't really care if we don't get our hands on them.
And I think that's generally the case, right? They're going to make their money, and they're But here's where I think some of the responsibility lies on. and I'm speaking from like maybe an altruistic fucking viewpoint here, where I think that it would just, in all fairness, to get these cards into the hands of people that they're actually meant for, right? These cards are literally meant for gaming. These are gaming specific cards, where you have content creation cards. You already have dedicated mining cards even. So it's not like the people outside of gamers aren't getting these cards. They are, but they're the only ones, right? And I think on this, it's not necessarily the supply side end that needs to fix that. It's the retail side. I mean, at this point, you can't go into a retail store and buy a graphics card. Even some of the really, really low end ones, like the non-gaming cards, people are using those to at least supplement for the time being able to play MOBAs and really low poly count games. So like it might be an altruistic view, but I think there should be a better system, right, to get these into the people's hands they intend them for. Of course, there's no incentive to, because unfortunately they can sell to these miners for 3 to 4 times the cost, and it ends up being cost effective for the miners or the scalpers. Ultimately, is probably the biggest issue that we're running into now. Is they can sell them above the MSRP because there is no price control on the supply chain side. So they can sell them above MSRP, sometimes 2 to 3 times as much. And then again, you're going to have to pay scalper prices on top of that. So I guess more than anything, it's just complaints from my end. But I also would like to get you guys into like better systems.
It'd be nice.
You know,
So what we need to do is go on very discreet Discord servers for gamers and tell them all that they're going to start putting centipedes in the graphics card boxes when they ship them. So when the Bitcoin miners buy them, they get eaten by centipedes. But we know, and we let the centipedes out before we use them.
perfect.
Centipedes do love a good Bitcoin.
Yeah. All you business people,
That's
shark
werewolf fact,
tankers, 10% of my company for 100 schmeckles.
Realistically, at the end of the day, all this is the problem of Bitcoin mining.
Yep.
Like even if you have scalpers that are buying up cards, they're doing that because they can sell them to Bitcoin miners.
Yeah, sure.
Like yes, occasionally a gamer's going to drop his, the overpriced scalped price to get a new gaming card, but at the end of the day, it's always mining.
Yeah.
People are spending $3,000 for the RTX 3090. And now NVIDIA's like, well, here's the TI version of it. We're gonna give it 11% additional performance. That is going to be a $4,000 card by the end of the year. I'm calling it now.
Yeah, I mean, you have governments that are literally in on mining. It's like there's no way you can compete with that.
Yeah.
In other news, other things, I have a decent amount to talk about. Do either of you have things you want to bring up before I ramble?
Absolutely not.
Well, I mean, I wanted to touch on the Raven Software. Fuck, I'm having a brain fart here. The Raven Software
Activision Blizzard.
Activision Blizzard walkout.
Fuck you, Bobby.
There it is.
There it
That's
is.
what I love to hear. They are the protests are spreading across more of the QA departments across Activision Blizzard. So it's really nice to see workers standing in solidarity with each other. This is, of course, referring to the 12 Raven Software QA members that were let go after being forced overtime and giving up benefits because they were told they were going to be hired on and good things are coming, and then they're like, oh, well, you're fired actually. So tip of the cap. So it's good to see worker solidarity. Blizzard has yet to respond to the demands that their jobs be safe, and they actually add the 500 jobs that they were talking about. So we'll see what your move, Blizzard.
Third week of their strike.
So it's good to see that solidarity. Stand firm with them. I'm gonna continue my ban of the products.
Yep.
Vote
with your wallet.
Exactly. In a stand of solidarity. So they had me wavering on friendship, but not this time.
Kind of the same vein. Did you guys hear about the Google CEO raises?
No.
So the 4 top Google CEOs all got compensation contracts renegotiated for the new year at $1 million, up from like $650,000 a year.
Damn.
But that happened. They found this out through the SEC filings, but this was after they had like an all hands employee meeting, and the Google let the employees know that there wasn't going to be any inflation cost adjustments for any of the employees.
We're giving you a negative raise.
Not to mention that Google has had like at least 4 record quarters.
Yeah, I've been reading. They're all making money. All the big companies.
All of the big companies. Yeah, 100%.
And that wage increase too, by the way, for anyone's referencing this, does not include whatever potential earnings they get from stock options and stuff that they're also getting.
Mm-hmm. So we did have CES this last week. I do want to talk more about that.
Oh yeah.
We can definitely talk about that after the break because I've got several things to talk about. So with what you've got, I'm very interested in what you brought up just before the podcast.
I was flitting about, and I discovered something which we'll talk about in a minute. But I did want to touch on PlayStation Plus going into this next month has Deep Rock Galactic available on it. If you haven't played it yet, you are doing yourself a disfavor.
Church.
It also has Dirt 5 and Persona Strikers 5. I have no opinion on either of those games. That was PlayStation Plus. If you have PlayStation Now,
Plus Max Now,
Mortal Kombat 11, Final Fantasy 12, and Fury Unleashed. I don't know anything about Letting Go of Anger, but I did play Final Fantasy 12 back in the day. They did a lot of neat ideas with it.
Yeah.
One cool thing is that your AI companions, you would build them almost like at a programming level. Say like if monster has X amount of hit points, then cast this spell, and you could set up these little blockchains.
Yeah, there were those
really
if
neat.
When sequences.
Was 12 4 bros in a convertible?
No, this was like the last. I think one of the last Final Fantasies to come out for the PS2.
For the PS2, yeah. 15 was the convertible boys.
This is Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age. It looks like they might have updated the graphics. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Now with more polygons.
Exactly. And that led into the Xbox Game Pass is going to have Mass Effect Legendary, Anacrusis, which we're going to talk about, and Spelunky 2. If you haven't played the Spelunky games, they are very worth playing. They're not going to keep you engrossed for a month, but I mean, if you have
Game Pass,
try it out.
Yeah.
And I haven't played Spelunky 2. I've watched some of it. But the Anacrusis, I saw this. I was like, what is the Anacrusis? And I looked it up. Because it described it as like a 4-player co-op shooter in a sci-fi setting. Turns out it's being made by a company, Stray Bombay, who was created by 2 people, and I lost the tab. One of them is the lead writer for, he wrote the entire story for Left 4 Dead, the original, and did a bunch of writing on the other original games. And the other co-developer of the company was a developer from Riot, and she's co-founder of the Fair Play Alliance, which is pretty neat. I read about that. But more importantly, I'm realizing this is the guy who essentially kind of made Left 4 Dead, made a sci-fi Left 4 Dead. And it's coming out January 13th on both the Xbox Game Pass and PC on Steam. I don't know if it's coming out on PlayStation. Probably should look that up.
So it's a new Left 4 Dead that we can actually probably all play together.
Yeah, and it's coming out in 8 days, 9 days.
That's awesome.
I mean, that puts my panties in a bunch.
Read this review of it. They completely overhauled their director, the AI that changes the difficulty based off how well you're doing. So they got the 2.0 version of that. And it looks really cool. The review was good on it.
That sounds fantastic because Turtle Rock taking over the Left 4 Dead franchise was fine, but with Back 4 Blood, they made that game impossible for like the majority of PC players to play.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The system requirements for Back 4 Blood are fucking ridiculous.
Astronomical.
Yeah. I mean, they made the game a little bit too fucking pretty for what they're demanding of their engine. Because you obviously want to have huge crowds on screen, and the fidelity that they put into the game graphically really does kind of limit what PCs can run it. So while all the latest consoles can run it just fine because of good optimization, they're still even they have to dynamically scale down the resolution and reduce frame rate during some parts of the game.
From what my brother said, being a longtime Left 4 Dead fan, he wasn't a huge fan of Back 4 Blood. So thank you, Chet Folasek. That's, by the way, the guy, one of the...
And that's Anacrusis?
The Anacrusis.
The Anacrusis, okay.
Chet Folasek and Kimberly Vole. So, yeah, that's cool to stumble across. I had no idea that was coming out. They need to get more ads out there. Stop showing car insurance ads on YouTube and show me video game ads.
True.
Rumors that the next Bioshock game is in development hell. Not too surprising.
Yeah.
One of the lead people on that is Ken Levine, who we will know from creating the original Thief and System Shock.
Okay.
And he, amazing dude. He went into trying to make, how do they describe it? Essentially an AI that runs the narrative of the game, where the quests can be procedurally, organically, smartly generated based off your decisions. This super highfalutin, high concept idea. And apparently that's not working out well, which isn't really surprising.
No.
A big thinker, and games are not there yet. You know?
Yeah. I mean, we will eventually have something like that, right?
It's going to take a long time.
It's going to take a long time and probably many iterations, but that is eventually, I think, where gaming is going to go. I think a lot of, especially the minutia, can definitely be put up to AI, like things like quest generation, level generation, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we always need somebody to be pushing that bubble to see how far we can do.
Yeah.
But yeah, don't think we're quite there yet. So I'm not sure how to feel about the next Bioshock. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't get scrapped and then released 6 months later like Destiny was.
Yeah.
So,
you know, those like clips and videos and stuff of AI generated like movie scripts and stuff like that. They should just put one of those into a game as the quest generator.
They have a text-based RPG where the whole game is run by a neural net like that.
That'd be really fun because then you have to like figure out, like it said, oh, I had to take the go to MacGuffin.
Well,
and
it's
then
more
you
like
figure out what the MacGuffin is, so you got to go to take.
Yeah, that would be kind of neat. The text-based game, think like Zork, right?
Yeah.
It'll say like you start in a dark room, you know, there's something on the wall, and you can just say like pick up rocket launcher, and it says you pick up the rocket launcher, and it has an idea of what these things are from people playing the game, but it's like those old chat bots, and that it learns what things are based off what people are putting into the game. So like I went into this RPG and it was like a sword, and it was like a dragon came, and I was like, shoot with bazooka. It's like you shoot the bazooka and explode the dragon, and an F-16 Hornet shows up. I was like, oh, what happened?
And that's AI Dungeon?
I think that was AI Dungeon. Yeah, it's fun to mess around with because it does its best to kind of keep up with whatever you're throwing at it.
Turns out that dragon was an American citizen.
Yeah.
A rich one at that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it learns from players' engagement instead of players teaching it.
Yeah, teaching it. We've seen that happen before with chat bots and whatnot.
Yeah, that's how you get things like Bodie McBoatface and stuff like that. Like it might make for an interesting game, but probably not necessarily a good one.
Twitch one that 4chan got a hold of and turned into a flaming racist.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Two last things. RimWorld just hit 100,000 user reviews at 98% suggested rate. I don't know if I can recommend the game to everyone, but I recommend everyone at least take a look at it because that game is fantastic. One of the lead artists for the game also makes some of the main mods for it, and that game has a huge modding scene. And he just released a full pirate expansion, a full outpost expansion. They're doing trade next. He's going to add in Titanfall-style mechs once the vehicle framework's out. He's got an overhaul mod for Mass Effect for the game. And yeah. And I've been waiting a while because I just beat it and finished it about, 3-4 months ago, 5 months maybe.
A little while ago, yeah.
So I was waiting for some of these mods to come out. And the next expansion is yet to be named, but I'll probably start playing it again when that comes out. So cool.
I love games that have a good modding community. Satisfactory is one, right? Where a really good modding community to the point where like people are like creating mod launchers, so you don't have to do really anything in the game. You have a third-party application, preloads all of your mods. DayZ is another one where it preloads all of your mods. You launch from the app launcher, and it launches with all of your mods.
Yeah, mods keep games alive. You can play Satisfactory in RimWorld. Late game, you can use the parts you get from the in-game robots to build machines that can eventually replace your people, and you build them just like you would in Satisfactory with production lines and whatnot. Yeah, pretty cool.
Meanwhile, we have like Activision Blizzard, who's again coming down on mod makers for people modding the single player experience in Call of Duty.
It's so bad.
You know,
developers mods are good.
Are you surprised? Like we have Rockstar and Vivendi and all these big companies that are stopping these really creative, excellent mod makers. The people that are going to be making games in another few years, right? They're taking like this is a lot of teenagers love to do this kind of stuff, and it not only does it spawn creativity and create things like the next big thing in gaming, like what we saw with the battle royale revolution. That spawned from mods. With Dota, spawned from mods. You know, we wouldn't have MOBAs. Counter-Strike, mods.
From mods.
Yeah, and not only that, but these mod developers are the big game developers. PlayerUnknown was a mod developer originally for DayZ. That guy went on to create some of the most popular games of all time. Yeah. So this...
Realistically, I'd like to see one example to where a modding community hurt the company or the community.
There is none unless you're cheating in an online game, right?
I mean, there's got to be something for them to work so hard to keep people from doing these things, right? And maybe we can look into that and find out.
I mean,
what
a lot
is
of
the
it,
counter argument for allowing people to mod your game.
A lot of it probably has to do with it might decrease our battle pass numbers, right? Or these are mods to similar DLC that we were going to be putting out in the game.
Yeah.
You know, I have to imagine that's like the only incentive.
Small thing, right?
Right.
Like, okay, so like for me, I bought CK2, which was made in 1809, because I wanted to play the Game of Thrones mod. I literally bought an old IP, because I wanted to play a mod.
Yeah.
That they made money because I enjoyed the modding community.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, honestly, embrace it a little bit, which is what excites me about this RimWorld. Is one of the creators is in that modding community. That's pretty cool.
I am, however, officially banning you from playing it until you're over your love with Apex, because you're going to like it, and we're not going to see you for 6 months. So
I'm diving into things.
Finally, noticed that PlayStation VR 2 there's news on that. I saw you had the picture up.
Yeah.
So I'm not super big on the numbers, but the neat things I saw is that no need for an external camera anymore. The cameras are now in the headset looking out, it looks like, so they can figure out your position.
That's
finally, it says, no need for an external camera here. Yeah. Finally, they're going to have rumble packs in the headset, so you can feel bullets whizzing past your head or your character's heartbeat. It's pretty neat. Also,
immensely improved controllers. I've got them up on screen now.
Those look like vibrators.
Well, they look less like vibrators than the last iteration. Those were the ones with the colored globe lights on the top of them.
That's very true.
So a little less dildonic than those. Yeah. And dildo's been in, like, I love the word. It's just one of my favorites. Great. Dildonics is fantastic. But not only that, but it does look much more ergonomic. This makes sense to me. It doesn't look like something that you're having to like squeeze to death just so you can hold it while you're playing in VR. So, I mean, it looks like other iterations of already out VR accessories. But yeah, that's exactly right. Now, I think it's important to acknowledge the PSVR 2 coming out, because there were rumors that they weren't looking, that Sony specifically wasn't looking into adding more VR to the PlayStation lineup previous to this announcement. So I'm glad that they are. I would like to see more VR, and having it really accessible and lower cost and something that plugs into a console is kind of, I think it's the way forward.
They want more people to buy it.
Well, yeah.
So this huge get up that you have to invest and figure out and set up and devote a room to.
Yeah, and PSVR there's some simplicity in it, right? A lot less setup, and the sales. You have to look at the sales. PSVR was the #1 selling VR headset of all time, and I think that caters to the simplicity, right?
So for the 17 of you,
it's like
PS5,
plug and play, right? I mean,
yeah,
pretty much.
Plug that son of a bitch in, and then you get going.
It really is like that. I mean, there's console updates and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a couple button pushes.
It figures it all out for you. Yeah. And of course there's things like calibration. You have to do sometimes per game calibration. Sometimes you have to do per console calibration. And everybody's a different size, and calibration matters for each individual. So
I've used it, though. It's great.
It's fantastic.
I've used that, and I've used the Oculus.
Yeah.
And I really don't have an opinion on which one's better because I've only used the Oculus once. But
Sure.
the Oculus is owned by Facebook, so don't buy that.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, you don't need Zuckerberg getting in there.
You don't need to get zucked. That being said,
Don't
like
give him any more Zuckerbucks.
I have a hard time critiquing anybody that's got something like the Quest or Quest 2. They're fun. If you're already sucked into the
Well, I'm not
Facebook metaverse, then
critiquing
it's
you. Yeah, I'm just saying
Right.
if you haven't bought one yet, don't give them your money.
And they had a really cool like Star Wars flight game where you'd like look around and stuff. That seemed so
Squadrons.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah, I think we missed that ship. Last I read, the user base was pretty dead, which means the remaining people are probably very good at it.
Squadrons isn't like an MMO or anything.
No, it was a full VR space flight sim.
Right, but I mean, it has a single player campaign then.
I don't know if it does.
Pretty sure.
It'd be cool if it did.
Because Squadrons isn't just a VR game. It's just also on VR.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you can play it in a non-VR. It says first-person multiplayer space, and then it gets cut off.
so it's hard. It's hard. So saying don't buy the Oculus is difficult because I think that if you're looking for,
It's not that hard.
that's true. But I'm
Don't
I'm
buy that.
flubbing my words. No, but well, that the difference here is
does have a
when you
camera.
look at something like the HTC Vive, $749 is the cheaper of the two that are outside of Facebook, which is the Valve Index and the HTC Vive. You have the HTC Vive at $749 to start. That's their starting kit. Or you have the Valve Index, which is $999 for their starting kit. Both of these, in their recommended setups, are both over $1,200. And that's considered the entry-level cost of these headsets.
That's cool, but I'm coming from the argument of Overwatch is $15. Still shouldn't buy it, right? You don't want to give Blizzard your money.
I get
It's the
it.
same for Facebook.
I get it, but we are talking many more multiples of dollars.
If you have a PlayStation, get the VR.
I agree with that.
Wait.
Yeah.
Right. We'll have better VR tech. It's not going to slow down.
Well, it has slowed down. That's the thing. Is like the market saturation slowed, especially after the PlayStation 4
COVID.
started.
COVID
I mean,
will
even if it
eventually
slows
all
down,
die
it's
due to
not
COVID,
stopping.
and then it won't be a problem, or COVID will go away, and all this shit will get easier.
What'd you say, Russ?
I mean, you might see slowdowns and stuff, but the constant advancement of VR will never stop.
I would hope not, right? And I don't think it will, but it definitely slowed substantially, and it slowed during COVID, which is when you'd think everybody's going to be getting into VR the most.
Yeah. Well, that's all the news I got. I'm out of juice.
He's out of juice.
Nick is juiceless. Well, that's fine. It is about time for break if you guys want to go.
It feels,
Break it
yeah.
off
Yeah.
like a Kit Kat bar.
Then, we will be right back from break.
All right, so Josh and I have been consuming the story of Boba Fett.
Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Now, I haven't seen the second episode yet. I got to
I
work
have.
out my Disney Plus situation. But so I think about Mandalorian, the other show, and how I was also initially on the fence about how I was going to feel about the show. And
I remember you were.
Yeah, and it ended up winning me over as it went on. I'm hoping Boba Fett kind of ends up doing the same thing, because after watching the first episode, for me, I'm hesitant to say that I like the direction that they're going. Just because they're revealing the great wizard Oz, and it's kind of a pathetic old man, which is how it do. I'm hoping that there's a premise that in Boba Fett's he's wounded from his trials since escaping the Sarlacc and stuff, so he's like in a healing phase. I'm hoping that his Steven Seagal-esque
his,
fighting is due to him being not at 100%.
I think this is from when he got his ass whooped on Mando season 2, because he came back, he whooped Stormtrooper ass because he got kitted back out again. So they're running a dual story. Oh shit, they're running a dual storyline in this. So there's the whole him getting out of the Sarlacc and becoming that fucking dude we saw, the old man with the stick that we saw in Mando season 2. And he's like, I'm going to get my father's armor back. You know, like the first part of the story of him escaping the Sarlacc is that part. And then there's the whole crime lord part, which is post that.
At the very least, the stuff that I am upset with, which is like the fighting scenes that are in the Boba Fett series, I'm hoping is implied. They're kind of pathetic because he's steel healing. However, he got hurt or he's injured and stuff. I hope that as he heals up, we can see him return to a more impressive and imposing figure. Because with him, they've already made it fairly standard that he's not like in his helmet all the time. Mm-hmm. And you made a valid point when we were talking about it before that they're trying to differentiate between the Mando and Boba. But it does detract from the mystique that is Boba Fett.
Agreed. I think they are really just embracing that character. Like, part of what made Boba Fett cool is that mystique. So I see what you're saying with how you're kind of feeling like they're making a mistake with like showing too much behind the curtain, right? I was thinking of another difference between Boba Fett and Mando. Mando moves around a lot. You're seeing a lot more of the Star Wars universe in Mando, and that made it really, really interesting. It's like, where the fuck are they going this week? You know?
Yeah, but see, I'm for me, I love digging into the gangster stuff of the Hutts and Tatooine.
I'm kind like, and it's a more settled show, and like I was thinking about that too. It's like, okay, I can't expect that overarching, almost space cowboy kind of a feel, because I'm getting a different show here. This is a different stuff. So like, once I'm started separating it from,
if they go into like full mafia style gangster Star Wars, that's I think, and that's where they need to go with that show.
After watching the second episode, I am definitely more hopeful. I feel like there's going to be that lean in, and I got to tell you right now, I am really, I'm really enjoying the getting out of the Sarlacc, the him getting his armor back story that they're doing with the Tusken Raiders. I think that's really cool how they're going into some of the Tusken Raider culture. It's neat. I find that part of the story really, really compelling.
I think it's fun to watch because it's definitely it's all the missing information we have on, how he gets out of the Sarlacc pit and all that jazz, which is neat. And it's standard kind of hero's journey stuff to where you're overcoming these obstacles.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Stronger and better afterwards. As far as Tusken Raiders go, fuck, dude, I couldn't give a shit.
There's some cool Tusken Raiders.
Tusken Raiders are just easy to write off as, like, I don't need backstory for them. They're nomadic alien sand people that don't like outsiders.
Yeah, there's story fodder.
Yeah, at the end of the day, we're like, so I think one of the things that killed it for me is at one point, I don't think that they've ever actually shown a canon version of a Tusken Raider without its like sand wraps and stuff on. But I think there was like maybe some expanded universe stuff.
There is some expanded universe stuff because Darth Krayt was a Tusken Raider.
Okay, so I don't even know who that is, but if they have like lamprey round mouths that match their like head wraps and stuff, I'm gonna be a little sad. Like, that's,
I don't think they're gonna show an unwrapped one, but they're totally from that second episode. Like, again, I don't want to say too much, but that second episode it's good. I definitely, because that first episode, it left me feeling a little bit lukewarm, but I was also really holding it right next to Mando there, and the Mandalorian is honestly, like probably one of the better Star Wars properties. Certainly one of the best new ones.
It did, and it did require us to kind of shift our expectations of what we've seen from Star Wars, because it was going into this more episodic, gunslinging kind of feel and genre for the show, which is not bad. Obviously, it worked well, and when you have stuff like that, you could theoretically have bad episodes that don't detract from the series as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And there are a couple bad ones.
There are a couple, yeah, definitely ones that are like, all right, whatever. The planet water planet one where he's like falling in love with this woman was a little bit ridiculous from Mandalorian.
Yeah. Right.
But I mean, at the end of the day, what I look forward to the most is like if they can find a good niche of like how they're producing these Star Wars TV shows, we could be in store for just like constant content that is of acceptable quality from Star Wars.
That would be good.
And
I would like that.
Yeah, and I mean,
that.
Stuff like the Clone Wars animated series, and even possibly Rebels, which I haven't seen and stuff. That thing goes to show that there is demand for at least good storyline telling and stuff from the Star Wars universe that will defeat the constant failure of these epic trilogy movies that they keep trying to put out from people that are producing by committee and whatnot. So
Star Wars' world building is large enough that just use it as a backdrop for any story you want to tell.
Yeah.
that's
Like you could have a viable rom-com in Star Wars. Why not? Like there's room for that and you could do it. You could have a history show where they look up old artifacts on planets, you know, whatever you want to do.
And that's, I mean, a lot of Star Wars fans that grew up reading expanded universe stuff knew that that was kind of what it was, is that Star Wars has now been set up as a world to play in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a bunch of authors that are out there playing in it.
Dude, an
You have good
Antiques
ones and bad
Roadshow
ones.
Star Wars would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think it would be fucking cool.
Yeah.
Pricing out artifacts like, oh,
Yeah.
my
Watto.
Sith holocron.
Dude,
This stamped record is the first song of the Jizz Whalers.
so real quick, you guys were talking about what a Tusken Raider looks like under the mask.
Yeah.
I Googled that.
Yeah.
And I came up with this. This is zoomed in a bit.
Yeah.
Oh.
But look at this whole page. What, like, hold on. What?
Oh, God.
What is this?
Just a grip of bad art.
Ew. Why is everybody saying Anakin?
Because he's pooping.
He's having
And
a
he's
Batman.
Yeah, I
right
guess
out
so.
there in the
He's
desert.
having a Batman moment.
He is.
One of those Batman moments.
harrowing memories of his origin story.
I just wanted to point that out.
That
This-
Tusken Raider looks like a lamprey and a crab had sex with a mannequin.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think the number one thing I want to blame George Lucas for from the prequels is giving fucking Padawan Jedi a fucking mono braid. Like
Little
that's
rat tail.
That's literally the like. If I want to blame, like, well, forgive Jar Jar. Why the fuck did you give these Jedi these little rat tails, dude? Get the fuck out of here.
It's fashion, Russ. You don't understand it.
He took a trip to Florida because he got old, and he was like, "Look at all these
real
kids with
popular
these
there.
rat tails."
But I feel there's promise there. But I mean, honestly, as cool as Boba Fett is, this show, in my it's a placeholder to the real deal comes out, baby.
So this stuff actually does make me think about the production of these shows for streaming services as a whole, right? So when you produce a movie, you have a budget and you need to you got to make that money back from box office sales and all the subsequent stuff that comes after it. It's curious to see how the metrics will match up for a streaming service. So like if you have a season like say Book of Boba Fett, say it doesn't produce the same subscriber or watch or views and stuff as Mandalorian does, are they going to just view that as a failure, in which case they're not going to want to like keep doing that stuff? Or like how big?
As far as I understand it, that's how they do it now. If they put out a new show and the viewership isn't enough, they can it. Like Netflix has canned
like-
a lot of shows.
I mean,
for that
unless you're
exact
HBO
reason.
and then they just can it if it's good.
Yeah. Well, like that. So right now, I feel like Boba Fett is not a determinant show. The Book of Boba Fett, as the example, is not a determinant show because there's already Obi-Wan coming out, the Acolyte. You have Snips. What's her name?
Ahsoka.
You have her show coming out, which is also incorporated.
What the fuck is Acolyte? I would assume that was the Ahsoka Tano stuff.
No, Acolyte is going to be about a Sith person.
Oh, cool. Okay.
It's going to be some dark side stuff.
I guess what I'm saying though is like, is the margin of a success or failure greater or smaller than the comparison of like a the budget for making these TV shows versus the budget for making these blockbuster movies. Because it'd be nice if there was a larger margin of error for like, okay, well, this show didn't succeed for these TV shows, because then they could take more risks with them, right? So like if you have like, say Book of Boba Fett is considered a failure, but its failure is less so on par than like if they'd released a Star Wars movie and didn't see good box office numbers, right? And I just don't know if the medium itself of streaming services has, like, I don't know what that margin of success or failure is.
Yeah, like, so if we're thinking about like when Amazon spent $500 million, right, on their Lord of the Rings show.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a fucking grip right there, a cash.
Sure.
So,
but that's also,
I was going to say that's Amazon money, but the only thing that can compare to Amazon money is fucking Disney money. So I don't know. Like, do movies cost $500 million?
I'm literally looking up like the highest budget cost, like the highest budget movies, most expensive films.
Because there was a time where, like, if a movie made not too long ago, like less than a decade, where
the number one is Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides at $379 million. So $500 million from Amazon on a Lord of the Rings TV show is a substantial increase.
That's domestic though, right?
They're not talking about profit. They're talking about cost.
The cost.
Oh, cost. Okay, yeah, okay.
Right?
Not how much money they make.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. You also remember they're making a show, not a movie.
Yeah.
So it's going to cost more because there's a lot more footage to do.
Yeah.
It is longer. There's something to be said about, instead of making like a 2.5 hour movie, you're making
effectively like a
that.
13-hour movie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If we went to Occam's razor this shit, Disney spent a lot of money on Star Wars, and they had some flops, and they need to make sure they keep making money.
Well, technically, they're not even flops. As fans, we consider them flops, but they were all profitable.
Oh, I thought they had it. Oh,
I would bet you.
Were they profitable enough?
Every single thing that Disney has produced in the Star Wars universe has been profitable.
Was it profitable enough? I mean, if you make $10 million off of a movie, that's
enough.
Not
Enough is hard to quantify, especially when what they're going to do is they're going to compare it to all the rest of the IP. So when you have the movies competing with the shows and the shows competing amongst themselves, there's gonna be some weird comparisons. So I would imagine that the movies did well and they did enough, right? But then if you compare it to something like The Mandalorian, which in merch sales alone, probably, this is a guess, I would be willing to bet that merch sales outdid box office sales for the movies.
Unfortunately not.
No?
The trilogy grossed $4.5 billion.
Right, I wouldn't be surprised if they sold $4.5 billion worth of Baby Yodas.
Yeah, they didn't have them made at the time. They didn't think people were going to want them.
They do now, though.
Yeah. So
Baby
the
Yoda.
sequels, the movies made a lot of money. You are correct. I thought I didn't know how much money they'd made, but
Well, as an example, the most expensive of the Star Wars franchise that was made is the Solo movie, the Han Solo spinoff, which I'd also consider probably.
It was all right.
It's not one of the worst.
No, it was but it was enjoyable. It was fun.
They still made $93.2 million off the box office. And I imagine that's a big enough number for them to consider that a success.
the budget for the 3 trilogy sequels was $837 million, and they made $4,475 million. So
Yeah.
that's 5-6-fold profit. So yeah, they're going to keep making Star Wars stuff, and if they have a couple hiccups, they'll just make more. Right.
It's really just kind of a thought process of like moving into this new era of streaming content and kind of stepping away from movie theaters more. Will that end up being forgiving enough that they're willing to take more risks and produce more content for the services?
I don't know.
I know, neither do I. It's just I'm curious. Time will tell.
Honestly,
really,
bro, I don't know if they could produce more content for the service at this point. Like, I mean, just for, well, I mean, they in the last couple of months, you've had the Bad Batch drop. You have the the Book of Boba Fett. You have the Star Wars animations. There's also like 15 or 20 different behind the scenes. Check out this planet.
So
take
by
a flight
make
on
more,
an X-wing.
do you mean make more than they're currently making right now, or that they're going to run out of ideas to make things?
No, eventually what they're going to do is they're going to start taking from the expanded universe and putting their own fucking spin on it. Because already in the works is some old Republic stuff, and there is just a wealth of
you never run
Star
out of
Wars.
content. It's
No,
it's
you
an
don't.
open. It's you
there's
have
so
all the
much.
Star Wars universe to build whatever you want in. Whether or not they have the resources and the manpower to keep up with the content creation might be a question.
That might be a thing, but if they push more content, I honestly feel like you run the risk of exhaustion, like a
Burnout.
Burnout.
I suffered Marvel burnout after a while. Like,
So like,
I think part of it is they have a lot of
love
different
Star Wars.
They have a lot of different
you know.
audiences.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
They can be putting out 30 Star Wars products a month, but if 2 of them are Netflix shows, one of them's a kid's video game, another one's a YouTube streaming series for teenagers.
Well, I mean,
then they're covering all their bases.
They're hitting it with the video games and all that stuff too. I mean, Fallen Order was pretty good.
That's the only thing that you can put up on that list, right?
Yeah.
Well, also the reboot of Old Republic is going to be coming out soonish in the next year or two. I feel like
so.
But we don't know if that's going to be good.
It's going to be good.
well,
I feel it in my bones.
your bones are so wet, dude.
And you're talking about just the remake of KOTOR?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's it's
going to be good.
Br-
Those count.
But do reboots, remakes, reskins count as them like putting out good Star Wars games?
Yeah.
No. There was an era of like 10 years where there was like a new Star Wars game almost every year.
Yeah, that was...
And they were all super fun. You have
Good
all
times.
the Dark Forces stuff, the Shadows of the
Academy.
Empire stuff, the TIE Fighter vs. X-Wing stuff. Like all that shit happened in like, I imagine the span of like 10, 15 years.
I mean, they've been making games since the 80s.
Right.
There's
And then
a lot of Star Wars games.
it pretty much culminated, I think, with KOTOR. Like I would say that for the after KOTOR and KOTOR 2 came out, there was like a dearth of notable Star Wars games.
Well, Force Unleashed.
Force Unleashed was okay.
It's fine. It's an arcade game.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And then is what ended up happening is it seemed like the IP went really heavy into like the Battlefront stuff.
Battlefront's apparently
those
their
are-
best-selling game.
I was going to say that
Yeah.
those are...
That's probably why they focused so heavily on it after that, is because how well it did. But
Yeah.
that wasn't what I wanted from my Star Wars games, because I'm all about that storyline and delving into
agreed.
in the RPG element.
I want more of the universe. I want more of that, absolutely. But I don't know, to sum up, I think I like what Disney's doing with it. I'm always tentative after that shit show of a trilogy. I'm always tentative now. But the small screen side of things have been very good so far, I feel like.
Good enough.
You know.
Well, I have problems with The Mandalorian, but I like it overall.
But I also really like the animated stuff, man.
Sure.
I dig it. So Bad Batch was a lot of fun to watch. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I mean, you should totally give Rebels a watch.
I need a show.
There's other stuff I can watch.
like-
I haven't even finished fucking Clone Wars, so
Clone Wars, the end of Clone Wars was fucking amazing.
I need a Big Brother style show in Star Wars. A bunch of Star Wars influencers, like Twi'lek, Instagram.
All I wanted to do was sell these death sticks.
I don't want to view any more content from influencers.
Instead, I walked home in
Even
a
if it's
daze and was
fictional.
hit by a space bus.
It'd be so fun.
I'd like a Jersey Shore style version.
Somewhere along those lines of a bunch of
So
like
it's just a bunch of
shitty
Wattos?
people.
Something that's even lower class than
influencers. Like a Trailer Park Boys, but Star Wars.
Ooh,
I would-
dude.
yeah, if you
There
go
you go.
super
Dude.
low out trashy
Yeah.
Jersey
Okay.
Shore / Trailer Boys, I'm in for that.
Shameless
Trailer Park
Star
Boys,
Wars.
a scripted Trailer Park Boys of like Hoth.
Oh man, yeah, like half Fargo, half Trailer Park
Yeah.
Boys. Oh man.
So recently, I've been thinking about buying Stormtrooper armor.
We need you to now so we can make these skits.
Do it while you're single.
I've thought the best use for it would be to show up and ironically counter protest for popular things. So it's a store, like, you know, just be like, yes. And it's like, well, the Stormtroopers supporting us. I don't, you know.
Yeah.
So like you come out and you support the. Never mind. It's an idea and thought.
Okay,
Sure,
still
yeah,
working
Keep
on
just
it.
a bud.
Yeah.
It's just a bud. It's not ready to open yet.
I think one of the best uses, it might get you killed, but go out in the forest with the armor on and just like get close to hunters. Just walk through the woods.
Go vegan.
Fucking stormtrooper.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, you're gonna get shot.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna get shot.
Yeah, you're gonna
Well,
get shot.
Andy, you wanted to talk about
Cobra Kai.
Cobra Kai.
Oh yeah, let's
Have-
transition to Andy's show.
Russ, have you watched Cobra Kai?
I've seen nothing of Cobra Kai.
Were you guys fans of the Karate Kid movies?
I was a
So-
fan of the first Karate Kid movie.
Same.
I watched the first one,
Yeah.
and then I watched the reboot with Little Will
I kind of remember.
Jaden Smith or whatever.
I kind of remember watching
guy's
the first
name
one,
is.
thinking like, "Why am I watching TMNT, but there's no Ninja Turtles?"
I mean, that makes sense. That
I
makes
vague
some
memory of,
sense.
like I watched it once. It's like this is cool, but like I could be
the
watching
Ninja Turtles
Ninja
are
Turtles.
cooler. Yeah, I mean, come on. Okay.
It
So,
was three ninjas, but only one brother showed up.
but I mean, there's like even the Ninja Turtles did parody of the Karate Kid, wax on, wax
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
You know that
they did.
like it existed before. You know, yeah. Anyways, it's a beloved franchise. I really liked it as a kid. It was one of the movies that was always playing at the house. You know,
Okay.
VHS tape was borderline shot. You know,
tracking.
so I watched the first one a lot. Now I think that I've seen the sequels, but I honestly, it's so long ago that I can't remember if I'm remembering
I'm
incorrectly.
almost positive I've seen every Karate Kid from the original.
Me
series,
too, but I
yeah,
can't
by
say.
the way.
I remember the first one well enough that I know I watched that a lot.
I think there's a different character for the third one, like a different main
I
character.
think it was Daniel that was the main character for the third one, but I
It's
could
a
be
girl,
wrong.
I believe. A
Oh,
Goyo.
you know what? But I think didn't they do it simultaneously?
I'm not sure.
Anyways,
remember.
So
It's the fucking 80s, bro.
it doesn't look like it. It looks like Jessica Andrews. So I think you're right.
Jessica Andrews.
So I loved these movies, or at least the first movie. And I remember the scenes pretty well. I mean, it's got some pretty iconic moments, stuff that still gets used in pop culture today. And anyways, Cobra Kai comes out, and I was like, okay, well, I mean, it's a little bit weird to be doing like a Karate Kid reboot like 30 years later. But I think especially the first season is really good. So it's following Johnny Lawrence, who was like the bad guy of the original movies, right?
Yeah.
And what I love is hearing his perspective, especially as an adult. So these guys are essentially like old men now. They're like in their late 40s. And once Daniel LaRusso, the Karate Kid, and Johnny Lawrence, the kind
Ralph
of
Macchio.
The actual,
the bad,
the actual Karate Kid.
yeah. But what? Yeah. So Ralph Macchio, and then you have the bad guy, Johnny Lawrence. Once they actually start talking, Johnny Lawrence is like, "Listen, dude, you came from out of town to my school, started bullying people right away, pulled off some wild ass karate shit. You stole my girlfriend." Like, you did a bunch of really mean shit to me, and you bullied me throughout all of high school. So, like, if you're to turn those tables, like, if you're to watch that movie again, especially with, like, thinking in this context that he was the bully and the other guy was the evil kid, was the victim,
Yes, sir.
it's kind of an interesting thing to see, like, how each of them evolved. And, like, so they, the crux of the original movie was the All Valley Karate Tournament. And then that's where you got Sweep the Leg. That's all of that stuff, and they're trying to get their students into this thing. They're trying to start it back up because and I think it was filmed in like 2019, the first season, or 2018. Everything's super, super woke, and like we don't want to promote violence in schools and to our children and all that stuff. So they're trying to get the All Valley tournament started back up again, where it's actually been torn down to like a shadow of its former self, and trying to get real martial arts back in, contact sports and stuff like that. So it's the first season is a journey of these two adults that have held hostilities against each other, ultimately trying to work with each other for a common cause. Even though there's tension
I think
between them.
it's a super clever take.
It's a great
from
take.
What I've heard about it. So it's like, how else would you take it?
Yeah.
Like in such a great way, you
Right.
know? Just, yeah.
Then the second
Face on.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, just they took it face on, like, okay, we have these campy 80 movies, like let's just, okay, now they're old men. What do they do now? Right. It's like, yeah.
So then second season came around, and second season was also really good. But at this point, they're starting to take these careers that they're setting up for themselves again seriously. So now they're real senseis. They've got real dojos. They're working with kids and trying to better
They have
lives.
opposing dojos.
Yes.
Okay.
They literally have Cobra Kai and Miyagi-Do, which were the opposing dojos from the 80s, right?
Okay.
But then you find we have the return of a previous villain, which is John Kreese, who was Johnny Lawrence's original sensei. He's like the ultra bad guy, the one that Miyagi fought, right?
Yeah.
To save children. And having him come back, who is a withered old man at this point, to be honest, when he stands still, he looks all right. But like when
he starts moving,
when they try to give him karate scenes, man, you're just beating up like a 70-year-old dude. So it's funny, like, dude, he's all like his hands are just like crippled with arthritis. Yeah. So they've got John Kreese back.
Man.
It's
just
true.
his hands have fused into fists.
So
it's got those Skeletor bones.
But then they have a common enemy, right? So it's trying a condom enemy.
Yeah.
It's trying to fight against this, right? And then their kids get involved. So this is kind of where the introduction of their own children get involved in kind of the violence and stuff. From then, not only did it change from a YouTube property, which YouTube was doing YouTube Premium, so this was this big selling show for YouTube Premium. Second season didn't do quite as well. So Netflix picked it up.
Oh.
And then they came out with the third season. Third season, you definitely see kind of a dichotomy switch. And it's much less focused on the adults and rivalry and trying to mend fences and that kind of thing. And you start to see it come into the kids and see how their rivalry actually affects the kids' lives. So not only do these guys have kids or they are looked up to by kids, but these kids also go to school with other kids, and karate starts getting into the school behavior, right?
Yeah.
It loses a little bit of its
magic there.
No, it loses a little bit of its seriousness in that, like in third season, there is an all-out school brawl. Yeah, like a Power Rangers style, like 30 dudes on 30 dudes.
Okay, love it.
Might have to watch this.
It gets a little bit insane and just a little bit like, wow, okay, all right. And that's going into the third season, and third season is dealing with that and the kids' problems. At this point, you've gone from having a main character to having like actually about 15 main characters.
An ensemble cast.
Yeah, an ensemble cast. Yeah.
Okay.
So the dichotomy changes a little bit in that way, but I think it's still a good show. I think for the most part, most of the characters are pretty good. And watching, especially since Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence, the two main characters from The Karate Kid, and who are essentially the main characters now, are like producers and directors for the show. It shows that they're putting a lot of real effort and heart into it and trying to like.
Didn't just phone it in.
They didn't just phone it in.
Season
yeah, and I feel like they're doing a pretty damn good job of keeping it fun, lighthearted, but also tackling some actual serious notes like bullying and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyways, my overall review of it is, while it hasn't stayed as good as I think it did initially, because the concept has really changed. I think it's really worth a watch. I think most people would enjoy it. I think it's a little bit of a nostalgia trip, but it's also pretty good. So, and
so
a younger audience, I think, would like it too.
Excuse me. Are all the seasons on Netflix, or is it you have to watch some on YouTube and some on Netflix?
They're all on Netflix. Netflix bought all of the seasons and the rights.
Okay.
I will give it a shot.
I would. I mean, especially
Sounds
since
funny.
it honestly, there's a lot of heart in the first season.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that, and it does get a little bit campy and a little bit more funny towards the middle portions of what I've watched so far. But I highly recommend it. Like, I highly recommend it. It's not great, but it is very entertaining.
Elevated recommendation.
Yeah. So,
Flatters.
I don't think it's winning any awards, but it's fantastic.
All right.
Best
Hell yeah.
Kung Fu
I'll check it out.
Netflix series.
I actually
It's
want to
a
go
blast.
back and watch the original Karate Kid now and see if I can see it from the other guys.
From Johnny Lawrence's side, yeah. Well, that's my take on Karate Kid. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about? We've got a little bit of time left if you do.
Again, yeah.
I've been working on 2 D&D campaigns,
Yeah.
and that's taken up a lot of my time. So
Absolutely.
I've had very little time to digital game.
Well, and I mean, honestly, with the lack of new releases out, it's you know,
We're post holiday season, so
Well, I mean, we got some releases coming out this month. Actually, I mean,
catch us up, Josh.
yeah. Let me just bring that up on my little digipad here. Bam.
I love how you bought the Galaxy Fold and you never open it.
Well, I'm terrified to wear out its crease, so I use it for when I watch things.
I enjoyed that a lot.
I mean, wouldn't you just keep it open all the time then?
No, because it's too big
Won't
to fit in
your
things.
pocket.
I've heard that before.
So we have God of War coming to PC in January 14th. That's
It's not
exciting.
already on PC.
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Rainbow Six Extraction is landing on the PlayStations and the Xbox Series X and S. Also the Xbone still, and of course PC. Windjammers 2 is coming out on the 20th. Paparazza, sure, whatever. Who cares about that? Pokemon Legends. Arceus is coming out on the Switch on the 28th. A new Uncharted game is coming out on the 28th. We of course
Wait, there's a new Uncharted game coming out?
Uncharted Legacy of Thieves. Oh, it's a collection. Never mind.
Yeah, okay.
It's a whole collection. So if you haven't played them, now's the time to pick them up here at the end of the month.
Play 'em
Full
before the
price.
movie comes out.
Yeah. God, I love Tom Holland. We have the new Horizon Zero Dawn game coming out in February, so it's next month. But there's some good stuff coming out.
What was that Paparazza game you said?
Paparazza.
Paparazza?
Paparazza.
You take pictures of puppies.
I'm trying to figure out
Paparazzi?
Oh, wasn't that something that you covered previously? I remember that name.
Oh, it is a dog photography game.
Yeah,
Okay.
didn't you talk about that, Josh, a few weeks
Paparazzi.
back?
No, I talked about the cat game.
Okay.
Where you take pictures of cats' buttholes.
No. You
Now-
draw them.
Did you guys watch the PSVR 2 announcement?
No.
Okay. So you didn't see the fact that there's a Horizon game coming out for the PlayStation VR 2? Yeah.
I mean, I will never own one, so
Sure.
I'm just sad.
Horizon VR Call of the Mountain.
That's
All they showed was a teaser image. There hasn't been
The entire mountain.
They didn't show the headset. They didn't show the game, but these two things are coming.
I missed it. Did we just? Do they have a
Yes.
price out for the next PSVR?
I think they have tentative pricing. I think it was $599 if I remember correctly.
And is it only for PS5?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's essentially the price of another PlayStation.
Yes.
Okay.
But this one's in 9D. All the dimensions. Spaghetti. Disco.
Dick.
That's not.
No, stay away from the dick dimension.
Nobody goes there.
No.
It comes to you.
Oh.
Yeah.
That explains a lot.
We come to you.
Do not
Dick
come.
dimension.
All right. Well, anything else? Or are we good?
I think that wraps it up for me.
Yeah.
up.
I feel good. I feel
So-
swaddled by the podcast.
Got to bring up my calendar here. So just a reminder, We are not going to have a live podcast next week. So no live podcast on the 12th or the 19th. No recorded podcast on the 14th or the 21st. We are going to be live next week, though, with Jackbox Party Pack games. Woo. So if you want to join us, join in the Twitch chat. We do have to be kind of selective about people that we allow to play.
But you do get to vote.
You do get to vote.
You do get to vote.
So be there for that. We'd love to have just as many people packed in as we can, because the more interactive the game is, the better it is.
We're going to be making raunchy t-shirts and ridiculous superheroes and making them fight.
We're going to have jizz whalers.
Yes.
Yeah. Just a reminder, we are on break for the next 2 weeks, but we will be going live on Twitch for at least next Wednesday, the 12th, with Jackbox Party Games. Join us at twitch.tv/videogametango.
What time we're going to start? I don't think we've determined that exactly.
Yeah, we haven't determined what time we're going to start, but we'll let you guys know on social media. Follow us on twitter.com/videogametango, facebook.com/videogametango. We'll have it out there. It'll be in the ether.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Abrupt.
That was good. I gotta pee.